appreciate you reaching out, man. I love to talk about bodybuilding. So I
Heck yeah.
also have a degree in exercise in kinesiology,
Okay.
exercise science. Yeah, it definitely started a journey for me as well. It led me to corrective exercise, um, and then down to PT. So I went back and did PT, just because I fell in love with the exercise side, the corrective exercise side of it.
Yeah. And it's interesting
Yes.
too. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, exercise science and kind of the related fields around it, the related majors and stuff you can get with it. It really is kind of like an open book once you do get out. Like some
Yeah.
things it pushes you into, okay, if you're going to law school, you're going to be a lawyer. If you're going to nursing school, you're going to be a
Exactly.
nurse. But
Exactly.
there's so many options and so many things that you can do and so many things you can do, whether it be, working with a huge corporation or starting something yourself. Like there's so many options when it comes to this.
True, true. I actually thought that I was gonna be like so my internship was strength and conditioning with the Vikings, and I thought that's what I was gonna do just because I wanted to stay close and attached to the game and in some way involved in the game. And that was kind of my angle. And then I figured out real quick, probably within a couple of weeks, that I knew if that's not what I wanted to do. But like you say, there's so many things, so many
Yeah.
I've been able to kind of create a career around the education I've attained around exercise science and PT now and corrective exercise. I started competing. I fell in love with the sport, I think, in 2012, 20, Kai Green. As Kai Green was always my guy. Like, I just, his persona, everything about him, I'm like, yo, like, that's what pulled me to bodybuilding. His battles with Phil, all the dramas, like I can just still feel like the emotion, and you're just watching it, you know what I'm saying, and you can still feel the emotion from those competitions. So I started out competing in the natural federations right away. Just being a former athlete, I just look for something to keep me motivated in the gyms. I was always a weight room guy when I played. I was always one of the strongest guys on the team. Just my physique was always one of the bigger guys. Um, so it felt natural, especially at the gym that I went into. It's a bodybuilding gym. There's guys walking around there always competing, telling guys when their show dates are. A couple of my training buddies just like, yo, man, you need to try this. At first, I only knew bodybuilding and then the bodybuilding trunks, and that didn't appeal to me for myself. I love watching it. I love watching the guys push. I love like seeing them attain those physiques. It just didn't appeal to me. For me, and men's physique actually debuted that first year that I competed in 13. Um, So I gave it a try. I got second place my first competition. They told me I was too big. And I'm like, forget this. I'm not doing this thing for me. But some friends and my coach at the time encouraged me. They're like, yo, you're just already naturally you're an elite physique. And you're competing against amateurs. You just got to get yourself in a different field. So I went to bigger cities. I went out to Chicago. I competed and I won my first show there. I went to Texas. I did natural Mr. Universe. I won that. I qualified for Olympia. Went to natural Mr. Olympia and won natural Mr. Olympia in 15. At that time, my physique had really. I was full blown bodybuilding, diet year round. I was just in love with it, and my body just started to grow. And natural men's physique at that time, those guys are so small. um, so I had to make a decision, whether to hold myself back to fit into this division or go, to the NPC. And at that time, everyone said, those guys are natural. You're gonna have to get on drugs yourself, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'll try my hand. So I did my first NPC show, state show, won, qualified for nationals, went to nationals, won, got my pro card. So I just went all the way through. I just fell in love with it, and I won in 16 at NPC Nationals. And that year I had my son. 2 weeks after, which right away just delayed my pro debut. I didn't debut until summer 18, a year and a half. And that was kind of me just getting on a circuit, you know, getting my see how I, match up against these elite guys now in the IFBB. First call out, so maybe I got eighth, something like seventh or eighth place. I realized like this is this is a completely different ball. You know what I mean? So I went back to the vet, and that motivated me. I finally had an opportunity to push myself to grow and to really try to maximize my potential, and that was my motivation. So I took another year and I competed 19. I did two shows, and I'm like sixth place. So I was in that top six type of thing, and COVID happened. So naturally, everyone kind of slowed down. But coming out of COVID, I don't know. I think this is the first time I really gave myself an opportunity to fully commit to bodybuilding. I had kids and businesses and all these different things pulling me different ways. And this year, I finally just said, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm gonna go all in. I want to go. I want to qualify for Olympia. I told my coach that's how I said, hey man, I don't care if I have to do 10 shows and get 1 point every show. I don't care what it takes. I'll compete from January to December. Like, let's go. It's like, yo, it's definitely not going to take 10 shows, but it's going to take more than one, maybe two. I came out on fire, man. I locked in, got a top call out my first show in Miami. Very next week, we went to DC and I got second. And that was the first time I felt like I ever had a chance to win. There's people in the crowd coming up to me, yo, I think you got it, man. And that really like lit me up. And I'm like, yo, this is really happening. I didn't win. I got second, and I already had another show lined up. But at that point, I knew like, hey, like this goal that I set and this ambition to be an Olympian is real, like it's feasible. So just along the way, man, that fire just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Um, and that's when I maxed out, man. I almost just completely killed myself for that last prep and just did whatever was necessary. I just lived and breathed bodybuilding for those last 5 weeks after that second place show. And I finally won. And that feeling, like, I played it in my head so many times, how I was going to feel, how I was going to react, and, who to think, like all those things. I could see myself on stage. I visualized it. Nothing happened the way that I visualized it. You know what I mean? Like, you realize it, they call you to win. And I just remember the numbness. Everything that popped in my mind was sacrifice. The time away from my kids, the traveling, the expenses, the money, the food, the diet, the missing the birthday parties, and all the sacrifices. Uh, I mean, it just flashed all at once, and so that emotion came with it. Um, and that's when I knew, because I was kind of questioning, do I love bodybuilding? Do I like it? Do I just like the challenge? I was kind of asking myself that question, where does this fit in my life? And I don't get a lot of emotional reactions since football. I do things that I want to do. I love the challenge. I've never had an emotional reaction like that. So when I felt that, man, and it was uncontrollable, like we were trying to do interviews and I'm getting choked up and I'm like, yo, this is real. So again, that was that next fire, because I'm like, yo, there's like 60, 70 guys that are gonna qualify this year. Right off the bat, my first goal, I know I'm top 10 in the world. I'm coming, my Olympia debut, my first goal is to be top 10. And then everyone's like, well, the top 10 from last year is pretty good. So, but I don't care, so that's been my fuel now. We're 5 weeks out, and I'm still locked in the same way I have been since last December, man, just pushing. And I know that it's the sacrifice now. Now that I've kind of made that decision and had that affirmation that this is something that I love, the sacrifice is so much easier. Like I'm really, this isn't a hobby anymore. This is literally a passion, like a lifestyle. And like I say, it's something that I love now, so the sacrifice, not sacrifice is sacrifice, but it's easier to accept them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to science-backed supplements that taste great, 2NS is your one-stop shop. They truly maximize quality by making their own supplements in-house. With over a combined 90 years of experience, 2NS's team of industry experts has a commitment to research, quality, development, and innovation. The body is sacred, so give it the best. Check out all 2NS has to offer at secondnaturesupplements.com. That's 2ndnaturesupplements.com.
Sometimes it takes just taking that risk.
It does, man. And sometimes, there's points along the way where you start looking at the sacrifice mounting up, and there's just so many opportunities to just, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough. You know what I mean? Miami was almost enough. I was up there with those top guys. They looked at me for fifth place. It's enough because it's already been 7 months. You know what I mean? That enough, enough, enough. And then you keep going. Oh, man, second place. That's pretty good. I didn't pull it off this year, but maybe that's enough. You know what I mean? But nah, it's that continual push and that commitment. I think it's hard for anybody. I was speaking to somebody about this the other day. Sometimes when you see it, on social media and you see these guys win shows and, they just go to Olympia, they make it seem so feasible. And you just hear people just saying, yeah, I'm going to go next year. I'm going to go to this show and I'm going to go to Olympia. Are you going to go? Like, are they selling tickets to participate? Or is there a sign up sheet or some shit? Like, how do you just go? They don't really grasp that. And so I try to share that real journey, that story, that sacrifice, that commitment is real, man. And I've been competing for 6 years now as a pro, and I've never gotten to this level until I completely all in sacrifice. My income had to drop, my time with my kids had to drop, my social time had to. Everything is secondary. You know what I'm saying? So I try to spread that word as much as I can and just really give people a true, idea of the real commitment that it takes to get to that level.
You can't, you can't hit the target if you're aiming at two targets at the same time.
Right, man, spot on. That's it. That's it. You got to eliminate everything else. And I think there's 2018, I felt was like my best physique that I had ever put on stage, ever. Even this year, like I look at, but my posing wasn't right. I didn't commit to, hiring a posing coach, and I couldn't even present that. It's just little stuff like that. That again, that's commitment, that's sacrificing again, and spending, more resources to hire another coach, and just those next level sacrifices to get to those next level goals, man. Um, I try to spread that word so much because I don't want anyone to get a false sense because they see me in a way. I love being in the gym either way. So they like, well, you just love working out. You're just gonna do a diet and just keep doing what you're doing. And it, a lot of people like literally came up to me. I'm not surprised you made it to Olympia. I'm like, damn, word. I'm surprised as shit. Like how aren't you surprised? Well, we see you in your training every day. Yeah, man.
And you mentioned like the kind of the thought you had of like, is this enough? Is this enough? When you placed eighth, when you placed even second, to you, what is it that drives that thought? Is it almost like potentially a fear of like not being able to achieve what you want to achieve and thinking like, okay, if I say I'm happy with this, then I can convince myself that I'm happy with eighth or I'm happy with second. Does that ever cross your mind as like, what's actually driving this idea of me thinking that, okay, or at least questioning, if not a full on thought of, is this enough or this is enough?
Yeah, and man, it's kind of just those games just come in and out at you don't plan to have those conversations with yourself. Again, like those sacrifices start to pile up. At one point, I hadn't seen my very hands-on with my kids. I got to see them every day. I got to feed them, bathe them, and put them to bed every night, and at one point there was like almost 2 weeks where it didn't happen, and I know they call me and they, face chat, and I can see the emotion on my 6-year-old. Dad, where are you? You ain't here. What's going on? And, continually to tell them, Daddy's on the plane. I'm in this place and I'm going to bring you a trophy or whatever it is that I tell them. But then I start to feel it, man, I miss my baby. I haven't, put them down. Is this enough? Am I pushing the envelope with that relationship too much? Those questions start to creep in. And then the other side comes, you know what, I've sacrificed, I've spent this time away from him. I'm not going to bastardize that time. I'm going to finish this mission. I'm going to bring him this trophy. I'm going to qualify and do what I said I was going to go out to do. That one gets a little bit louder, and then you just keep going. You know what I'm saying?
We're sacrificing in that short term to have those long-term benefits. You never know in life too. That's the scary part. All this work you could be putting in anything, in bodybuilding and business and school, like you never know if that sacrifice or if that investment is ever going to pay out. You work as hard as you can so it does, but you truly don't know. And I think that's what holds most people back.
And to be honest, there's probably a couple opportunities that I've missed out on in that same mentality, because I had a kid right away out of high school. And so every decision I made since I was 18 was, going to affect him. So it seemed like everything that I did was a sacrifice since I was 18 in some way or another. And there was just times where I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that because I can't risk, not being able to make this money this month to take care of my kid, a responsibility. I can't risk losing what I already have to try to chase and attain something else that I don't, because I have this responsibility. And man, that's the rat race, right? Like you get enough, and you just keep going and going, and you hope for more, but you just keep going, and you're in a circle. You know what I mean? 40, 50 years later, where did time go? And then regret, and regret is what I fear the most. When that fear of regret took over for that fear of failure, oh man, I took off. I started doing all kinds of stuff, man, businesses and bodybuilding and all kinds of stuff, man. I did boxing. I did 5 Golden Glove tournaments, 5-0 in boxing, just because it's something I always wanted to do. You know what? Why not? I'm going to do it. That fear of regret, man. I fear that way more than I fear failure.
Ready to take your supplements to the next level? 2NS is here to help. 2NS strives to help you attain the highest degree of health and performance. Combining cutting-edge science and the best from nature, 2NS gives fitness enthusiasts and athletes the fuel they need. Check them out at secondnaturesupplements.com. That's 2ndnaturesupplements.com. This episode is brought to you by Move Your Body Apparel, a Lexington-based, community-ran premium activewear brand that promotes the importance of daily movement. For the rest of the year, MYB is donating a percentage of every order to the Special Olympics of Kentucky. Save 20% off your first order with the link below or use code TWR20. Online at mybapparel.com.
A lot of times what we build up in our mind as being this like huge situation, a lot of times it just comes down to walking through the door. That's all, that's all the difference is between a lot of people is, did you take that first step or did you not take the first step? After the first step, it becomes almost like an escalator, it starts moving itself.
Right. I agree.
So in that time frame between, I think you said it was 2016 and 2018, was there any thoughts in your mind like, is this for me? Are we going to go back to it? What's my lifespan in the sport? Like what were the thoughts thinking because you weren't doing shows? Was there any thoughts about your future in the sport?
Never, man. I always knew that I was coming back to challenge. I was watching those top guys, Brandon and Jeremy. And at that point, I was the guy on the couch talking shit. I can beat them. I'm just as good as them, And once I heard myself, because that's never been my personality, I started to hear myself saying that. And, I had to start checking myself like, man, they're out there doing it. I can't say anything. You can shut your mouth because they're out there doing it. And I knew I wanted to make sure that with a new responsibility, my new kid, that if I was going to commit to this, when I committed to this, I was going to be able to go and not have to, do that go stop, go stop, go stop. Um, Push a little bit. Okay, that's enough sacrifice. I have to go back to my responsibilities. A little sacrifice, go back to my responsibilities. So I just made sure all my ducks were in order. It's easier to lock in too, man. When things are right at home, things are right at work, things are right, with your family and everything that's going on in your life. When you're able to just lock in and not have to worry about that type of stuff, you can go so much further when you really make it about you and your goals, and you have like support around you that are on the same frequency. I call it, when you guys are in agreement. Okay, now we're focusing on you and your goals, because there's a time, pretty much everyone in my family, I support everything and everyone, um, but at some point when I say, okay, it's my time, they know I'm shutting it down. It's time for me to go. If it's a business, if it's me learning something new, I'm going back to school. They know when I say I'm going, I'm going. And there's not too much, there's no need to argue with me because I'm going. You know what I mean?
It's important in the sport like bodybuilding, listening to people on how they kind of get started or just kind of like get back into it, the way that they set up their life.
Yeah, I think I've had enough experience. I was able to do local shows and kind of figure out how that fits into my life. Um, and that's another thing too, man. Some people try to fit bodybuilding into their life instead of I'm bodybuilding and fit everything else in the bodybuilding. And that's literally was the difference of this year. The previous year, 16, 18, 19, I was trying to fit bodybuilding into my life and what I was doing. And I was okay. Like, but I was definitely not that Olympia caliber. And this year it's like, okay, bodybuilding is it. My work schedule is around that. My family time, my social time, everything goes around that. You know what I mean? And that's been a big game changer. And I think for most people that I've spoken to, it almost has to be like that.
You mentioned the experience of like of winning that show and how it kind of the emotions happen and you kind of didn't really see that coming along with it. Did you have any thoughts or any like realizations or anything pop up in your head after you did win? And to become Olympia qualified, such like a big accomplishment, but was there anything in your head like it just popped up like, oh, I didn't think about that aspect of this, or am I doing this certain thing well enough? Like, oh my god, like did anything just hit you before to where it was like I didn't even think about that being a concern or a thought until you won?
First of all, it was definitely extending prep, because then I thought about, okay, I've been in prep since December and Olympia's in December, and so my health right away popped up. What am I gonna need to do to make sure that I can withstand, another 20 weeks of the? I think that was really the first thing. Is, oh man, I'm back in prep. I've done this. I've ran this marathon, and in actuality, that just became my midpoint. And I was exhausted when I got there. I mean, I emptied the tank, man. There was nothing left. Like, blinking and opening my eyes was such a task. The morning of the show, I emptied the tank, and it's like, oh man, I got to dig in some reserves and refill this tank or recharge, because I got another 22 weeks or whatever it was at the time. And, just coming home and giving myself that time with my kids and to get back to business. And I think I gave myself 2 or 3 weeks to kind of deload. I went and got my blood work done and checked in with my physicians and my coaches. And I did all the things to give myself that peace of mind so that I didn't have to worry, because worry shows up, that emotional worry shows up physically, and it just wear on you. I got that clarity, man, 2, 3 weeks. And it's like, okay, I don't know. It felt like December again. I was ready to rock. You know, we getting ready for Olympia now. So probably the one thing that popped up was, am I going to be able to withstand another 20 weeks?
In that situation, before you did kind of take those few weeks, was there a thought or a period of like, what is it going to take to do this? Like, obviously you're never in this quite same situation before. Did you lean on others' kind of advice on what to do and how to handle it?
We have, there's only one other Olympian here in my hometown, two. Uh, we have a bodybuilder, uh, Charles Griffin, and we have a classic guy, um, George Koala. And I just remember talking to George, and I'm like, yo, he actually qualified in the middle of the summer when he qualified, and he had to start over. And I'm like, yo, do you just go straight through? Do you like, D-Lo, like how did you he's just so chill, his mentality, and I really like that put me at ease. You know what I mean? And he said, man, he said, take a couple weeks. If you feel you need to rest your body, don't think you need to get in the way because that adrenaline, that oh man, Olympia, I gotta start working now. You know what I'm saying? He's like, feel the feels, but give yourself permission to, chill for a couple days. If it's a couple days, if it's a week, he was like, but a couple things you have to stay consistent. Keep your metabolism, keep your cardio up. Don't go crazy with nutrition, and just give yourself a little bit of a break from all that, from the deficit. And he said, just wait for clarity. He was like, it's gonna come. He said, I'm telling you, it's just gonna come. You're just gonna know when it's time to push the pedal. You're gonna know. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what does it mean? Like, what is this? What does push the pedal mean? Like, what will I know? Like, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, you'll just know, you'll know. He's like, just relax. And so for me, that wasn't in question. I'm like, heck no. I'm ready for Olympia. I'm starting today. There's guys that qualified way earlier than me and they're prepping already. I need to go. I can't fall behind. I just remember that first day at the gym, my body aching, my energy was low. I was happy. I was feeling good, but man, I slept like 14 hours for like 3 days in a row. Like I just kept sleeping, like I couldn't get enough sleep. And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, okay, let me back up a little bit, give myself permission, and then start checking the boxes, talk to my physician and check in with my family, check in with my businesses, because those are the things that are going to always constantly worry me mentally. Once I kind of got everything straight, like I said, that was a couple weeks. I never stopped, working out. I took a little bit of a break from the I'll eat. If there was something I wanted, a burger, I would eat it. But for the most part, I ate my meals. And then, like he said, I just felt like one week I felt good, man. And I just knew it was time to roll. Got my blood work back. I'm like, oh, that's nice. You know what I'm saying? Did a couple of activities and events with my kids. That's nice. Got a couple contracts with my businesses. So, oh, that's nice. And that all put me at peace. And when I felt that peace, right back to the work. That's kind of how it happened for me.
When you've been in it for a while, you really understand that things take a while to happen, with the body and changes, major things, they take time. Did you get the sense of like, is this 20 weeks period, did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, I have to I have to do so much with this 20 weeks? And did it ever almost like you forget all that stuff that you learned before about, hey, it takes time. Hey, it's going to be a journey. Like, did that almost like overwhelm you?
I literally thought that. Like, yo, I got 20 weeks to create the most craziest physique. And right away, number one in the world pops up. Brandon pops up, right? I gotta be Brandon. He's got this, and this. I gotta, push this, and that's all I can say. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like I think again that conversation with George and really getting a perspective, where I was at in that deficit, there was nothing I could have achieved in that state, mentally or physically, physiologically. Like there was nothing that I could have achieved as far as like that ambition and those thoughts that I had in that state. So I needed to kind of regroup, resquare my circle, I call it, and yeah, man, it's always a me versus me thing. You always have those things that, the carrot, the rabbit, whatever that you're chasing. And that's always going to be number one in the world. If you're a true competitor, you're always looking at number one if you're doing any comparisons. But for me, man, I'm just like, I've achieved. So I've watched my body change so much, and I've just been so impressed just by myself. And then I'm like, yo, what can I really do? Like, I have 20 weeks. What can I really do? So after that, I actually did 16-week breaks prep. So I really started at 16. And just that question to me and to myself. And that's really my motivation. Like, yo, I've achieved this in this amount of time. This is how I did it. I look back on things that I know I may have been able to execute different. Just try to be as efficient as I can, as deliberate and purposeful as I can with every single day that I have available.
Have you had any like weird dreams or anything, like just, showing up on the day and just everything going wrong, or just anything weird, like thoughts or dreams like that?
Oh man, my dreams are always about winning. and, and I dream about like being like on billboards and like, you know what I mean? Like I've been to Vegas quite a few times, and I know how they put the promotion of the shows up. They have like the top athletes all around in every hotel, on every billboard. That's the type of stuff that I think about. I
Yeah.
never think about like the bad stuff.
Do you do anything mentally to help yourself prepare as well? I think you mentioned like visualizing things, but do you do any writing down of thoughts or any like meditation or anything like that to kind of help you also?
I have this coach. He's the breath messiah. So I do breath work and in the infrared sauna, and he's always talk. So he knows a lot of the goals and aspirations and whatever I'm working on, and he cues a lot of thoughts, and he reinforces them with a lot of the breathing techniques and affirmations, and we're doing that for hours sometimes. I did it today from 10 to 12:30. You don't even know that it's been 2.5 hours. And though that was more of a mental, it's a lot of cardio too, but I came out of there physically charged up. Like I did no physical work, but I feel great. So as far as meditation, that would be my form of meditation and doing affirmations and that breath. But man, it's something that I picked up this year during prep, and there's no experience that I've had like that. I was really big on meditation the last couple years, and I likened it to like a guided meditation with him, but adding that breath work, it takes me to an entirely different level, and locking those affirmations in, and they leave with me. Like, you know what I mean? And I walk in them daily. So now that they're with me, I walk in those affirmations.
Does it feel at all like hypnotic or anything?
Like that's exactly how I would explain it. So my buddy went with me today, and he was kind of explaining his thought and like how he was feeling. And I'm open, like he's having a hard time explaining what he's feeling and how, like, yo, that experience was, and I'm nodding my head like, yeah. And I'm like, you remember at the end when he said, okay, come back into yourself, wiggle your toes, wiggle your feet, and open your eyes slowly. There was one time, like, I heard him, I couldn't open, he was recording me, and I could not, I heard him, like he was standing over me, I couldn't come out of it. Like, it was like a hypnosis, and we laugh about that so much. And I'm like, yo, I need to get back to that. Whatever we did, we got to do that again. That was the week before I won. That was the week before I won in Atlanta.
It's interesting, like how our minds can take us into these different places, how we're almost like literally outside of our bodies. I remember the first time I did.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. This episode is brought to you by Move Your Body Apparel, a Lexington-based, community-ran premium activewear brand that promotes the importance of daily movement. For the rest of the year, MYB is donating a percentage of every order to the Special Olympics of Kentucky. Save 20% off your first order with the link below or use code TWR20. Online at mybapparel.com.
I wouldn't even call it like a super serious meditation or anything like that, but it was kind of like a guided experience. I kind of had a similar like out of body experience. I was aware of everything that was going on, but I was almost like over my body. I was almost like outside of it.
It's hard to explain. Like I told you, like I knew he was. I hear him. Like I'm present, but I couldn't move. I couldn't open my eyes. He was saying, open your eyes, like, come back into your body and wiggle and I just was there, but my body was completely, you know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
don't like, it's hard to talk to people. Like if you haven't experienced it or if you can't see, that's why I'm glad he has a video, because when you just tell an everyday person something like that, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna. I always end that story with, "I won next week."
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. When it comes to like before a workout, do you do anything in the same kind of light, whether it be meditation or like visualization or, just positive affirmations, anything like that to kind of in the same way, kind of get your energy up and get, to move that workout in that positive direction?
No, not necessarily. My thing is music. Like, music is my thing, man. So as I'm, going through my workout, I'm looking over it, kind of planning how I'm gonna move and um, get my pre-workout supplements in and set my intent, like just getting my body ready to move. It's the music, and I'll sit and listen. It takes one song. Sometimes it hits me and I'm ready to go. Sometimes it's two, three, four songs and I'm sitting there for 20 minutes. Um, but it always hits me and I'm always just like go. And once I go, I like to attack my workouts. Like that's my time for me. I wear a lot of hats and I just always make that promise to myself when I go and train and I go in that gym and it's time for me, all those hats are off there on the floor, like, and my headphones and my hood is up. It's my time, and I just go at it like no other. I really try to enjoy it and lock in and just be as present as I can with each workout.
And is there a certain genre, is there a certain artist or a certain time frame that you like to listen to, or is it kind of differ?
And West Coast hip hop, Nipsey, um, a lot of times. Jeezy is my thing right now too. He's got a new mixtape out. But for the most part, I can put on West Coast hip hop from early 2000s, late 90s, and I'm good for 2 hours.
I think what you mentioned about like just going in and having a purpose and doing that, it sounds like so basic and so simple, but if you have your phone with you, it's literally like the gateway to anything. It's so hard to stay focused on what you're doing with the phone.
And now I used to have a really hard time with accepting everyone setting up like their tripods and shit and recording workouts. And now there's just people that just have a person tagging along, just straight recording them. And even my coach sometimes he's like, "Yo, record some of your workouts or whatever." And I'm like, "Hell no!" Like I got my hoodie on. I'm not peeling out to just show. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for a purpose. The only time I ever really get any type of video is like if my girl is there some training and she comes over and records some shit, or my training partner, he's doing a YouTube and his training app, and he's gonna get some video of us, or he has somebody coming. But and this phone is playing my music and it's on the floor somewhere, I'm working. What I've also learned, man, is it's the nature of the business now. As an elite athlete, these sponsors want those videos. They want you, promoting product and just promoting you as their brand representative. Most elite athletes now are self-branded products themselves. They have workout plans and coaching plans and clothing themselves. So I understand the necessity for it. I just don't feel like my lifestyle and the things that I want, I don't care for it too much. It just doesn't fit my personality. I try to be as active. In my opinion, I'm the most active I can ever be on social media, and everyone tells me, "Man, you don't post ever." You know, I don't know what ever is. I know I post like once a week, at least twice. You know, and you gotta post 2, 3 times a day, and you got to do your what? Who wants? So,
Yeah. It's tough because you have people who have teams behind them that literally do everything for them on social media, who are like really high level competitors. And then you have people who are strictly pretty much just influencers who people see on social media. They may do bodybuilding shows, and they're putting out a ton of content around that. But then you have kind of people like you who really, it's not about the content, it's not about the influence, it's more just about being present and doing what you're doing in bodybuilding. Social media is just kind of a fun aspect of it. But they expect everybody to be on that same level of like, you got to put out a video, you got to put out a reel, you got to put out a picture, you got to put out stories, all kinds of stuff. And most of the people I talk to, they're like, I don't even really care to do that. I just do it because I feel like sometimes I have to do it.
I have to do it. And you know what? Honestly, what motivates me, encourages me to do it is I do get people who actually follow my journey and really support and, really rock with me um, when I'm in prep, and they do check on my updates and see where I'm at in prep and how I'm doing, and they respond and tell me how encouraged or motivated they are, or that they're just proud to see the work that I'm doing. Like that stuff is what actually motivates me to do it. The likes and the count, like that stuff is, I can care less. You know what I mean? Some people have found a great way to monetize the social media, but that's not where my money comes from right now. So it's not where I want to put a lot of time.
I think it's cool to have all this content from a perspective of like following people's journeys and really, especially the people who put out like really authentic stuff. I can just imagine like what it would be like 40 years ago with the bodybuilders. And if we got kind of some of that more insider information on what they're doing on a daily basis, just how fun and interesting it would be. But then again, it makes it more of like mysterious too. Like when you have less of that, it makes it kind of more like, oh, what is this person doing? Or, what does this person actually look like right now? Like, oh, we know what they look like because they're posting it every day. But like if they didn't, it adds that level and that layer of kind of like a mystique about it.
Yeah, yeah. I love to show the work and the commitment. And again, like I always want to show people like the sacrifice and the commitment that goes into it. Like it's truly not just I love to work out, so I'm at the gym just doing gym shit, just eating uh chicken and green beans for 16 weeks. You know what I mean? So I like to show the real work. I like to show the pain. There's a lot of painful days. The getting on the stage and getting a trophy and those highlight stuff, like things that they see and attach to. For me, that's like the last post. You know what I mean?
So the next couple weeks, leading up to the Olympia, what are things looking like for you?
So honestly, right now I've already started to shift my schedules. As far as work, I've already, man, everything is just dialing back and just create more time for sleep, training. I've committed more time to make sure that this time in prep I have the time with my kids. So if I'm training from 1 to 3, it's training from 1 to 3. I'm not starting 30 minutes late. I'm not going 30 minutes over. I'm not taking clients after 5. I'm not doing, it just starts to just kind of just tighten until, those last 2 weeks, there will be nothing but sleeping, eating, and training until I take off.
The people like you who this is it's a genuine bodybuilding experience. There's a lot of people who do bodybuilding and they're maybe successful, but it's not necessarily about the bodybuilding. It feels like with you, it's really about the bodybuilding. So it's cool to get to share that. because it influences the people who want to do it for the sport. And I think that's, where the sport does thrive. You need a little bit of that promotional side of it, of course, but you need that genuine athlete as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, man. And I try to find, I don't want to shame anyone. That's whatever their motivation to do it is their motivation to do it. I just try to stay genuine to myself and what the sport means to me. I honestly, without after football, I have a few, former pro athlete friends who just really didn't find anything after football, and they're physically they're nothing, they're a shell of their former selves, and they look at me like, man, I wish I would have, and I wish I could have, and I feel so fortunate to have found bodybuilding like exactly when I did, like. There, a year earlier, I don't think it would have. A year later, it'd probably been too late because I was already looking, starting a relationship, and that would have taken over my time and attention. Like, really, I found bodybuilding at the perfect time. And I just appreciate it, man. I appreciate what it represents: discipline, consistency, and the positive version of selfishness. You have to be selfish, but it's to better yourself, at whatever it is that you're trying to attain in the sport. So I just love what bodybuilding represents. I love the discipline that it brings to my life. I always have said this when I'm in prep, I am like, those are some like the biggest in business, in my businesses, those are my biggest profit months. Everything is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and just the structure. I love everything about it, man. Everything. It seems like everything that people complain about. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta do all this cardio. That's what I appreciate the most about it. You know what I mean? Thing I probably appreciate the least amount is the social media and all the flash that comes with it. Because it's so like personal to me that a lot of times I don't feel the need or the want to share so much with everyone. But again, like I say, there's so many people that do appreciate when I share, and they really show the genuine support and encouragement, and let me know how it motivates them. And that would be probably the only reason why I'll continue to share on social media.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing some time here on the podcast and sharing a little bit about your story and your journey. It was really good getting to talk to you.
Right on. I appreciate it, man. Reach out anytime. Post Olympia when I'm top 10, I'll have another story for you.